Hello, friends. Al Iverson here. It's time for another one of your email authentication and deliverability questions answered. For this 64th edition of our video series, I'm going to answer the question, how has BIMI adoption grown over the past 2.5 years? I've got some data, so let's talk about it. And keep in mind that this is really nothing official. This is just me with a little shell script querying DNS. About every month or two, I query the top 10 million domains online and check their DNS and look for two things in that DNS. First, does the domain publish a BIMI text record, meaning a specific DNS record at the right place in DNS that links to an SVG image file? Second, does that BIMI record point to a PEM file? In other words, does it include a mark certificate, either a verified mark certificate or a common mark certificate? Now, this data is not entirely precise. It will include some number of malformed records. Trust me, if somebody can think of some way to cram something wrong into DNS, they will. And keep in mind that BIMI logos, even if the DNS record and logo are formatted properly, they're not going to show at some mailbox providers. Yahoo, Fastmail, and a few others will show logos without a mark certificate, but Gmail and Apple, for example, will not. Here's information from the BIMI Group website showing which mailbox providers support BIMI. Now, it's not, like I said, it's not every mailbox provider in the world that's going to show a BIMI logo. Microsoft doesn't have support for BIMI logos, but a lot of mailbox providers do actually show it. Most importantly, Yahoo, Gmail, and Apple, probably the biggest ones there, at least in the US, but they're not the only ones. There's a whole bunch of other ones, as you can see listed here. Okay, let's get to the data and see what it shows us. Rewinding to June 2023, back then across the top 10 million domains, I found 14,305 total BIMI records published. Of these, about 1,450 had a mark certificate, a VMC or CMC attached. Fast forward to now, to February 2026, we're at 29,640 total BIMI records, and 6,357 of those include a mark certificate. That's more than double the total BIMI records in about 2.5 years. Month to month, it's small incremental growth, and some months are flatter than others. But zooming out, you can see the trend. BIMI adoption is indeed climbing and climbing steadily. Now, let's talk about certificates for a second, because this is an important thing to call out. In mid 2023, only about 1,400 domains in that top 10 million had BIMI with a marked certificate in place. Today, that number is over 6,300. That's more than 4 times growth in certificate-backed BIMI logos. Now, why does that matter? Because publishing a BIMI record without a certificate is relatively easy. Anybody can publish a text record in DNS. Getting a mark certificate, in particular, getting a verified mark certificate, means you've gone through trademark validation and your company has been verified, meaning that these are people who are just not hobby testing or publishing a BIMI record out of curiosity. They're real companies with verified brands that have implemented BIMI. Another thing I watch is the balance between logo only and logo plus certificate, meaning the number of domains publishing BIMI without a certificate versus those that do have that mark certificate. And the number of overall BIMI records published with or without a certificate has grown significantly. The number of ones without a certificate has grown from 12,000, almost 13,000 in June 2023 to over 23,000 today. But that faster growth rate is clearly in certificate-backed BIMI. That's important to note. Brands are moving beyond experimentation. It's not explosive growth. I want to be realistic about that, but it is sustained upward adoption over time. And remember, BIMI requires DMARC enforcement. Every one of these domains had to get their authentication house in order first. So when you see this line trending upward, you're not just seeing logos and inboxes, you're seeing more domains at DMARC enforcement. You're seeing more authenticated email, and you're seeing better brand protection. So if you're a marketer or security leader wondering whether or not BIMI is a thing, I think the data says yes. More domains are publishing BIMI, more brands are investing in mark certificates, going through that verification process, and the total footprint has doubled in under 3 years. And remember, if you're ready to jump on the BIMI bandwagon, we've got tools that can help you get your logo showing in the inbox. That's what ValaMail Amplify does. Our BIMI simulator lets you mock up what your sender logo might actually look like in or next to the inbox. And our BIMI inspiration feature shows off other companies' logos. Remember that DNS is all public, so hopefully that helps to inspire you to consider adding your own logo to the mix. And our audience insights feature tells you how many times your logo would have shown up in various inboxes based on where you can see that in your DMARC reporting. This is one very handy thing when it comes to making the business case for BIMI. Gives you an idea of how many impressions your logo would get. And with that super quick overview of what we can do to help you with BIMI, that is everything I have for you today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have thoughts, questions, or want to compare notes, drop me a line at al.iverson@valamel.com. And if you're working toward DMARC enforcement or thinking about BIMI, you know where to find us at valamel.com. See you next time.